Oh, they seem to be praising the Glazers and Sir Jim Ratcliffe for only spending so much, and that's getting people wound up. This is what we've spent in the transfer window. We've got to be frugal with the money in that. That wasn't the way it was all being spoken 3 months ago about Manchester United. We was going in big. What is the priority? They come out and talk as though they're right in there with Manchester United, and then they come out with articles on YouTube or whatever it is and like portray, we're in United, we're in the know. That's what they do, we're in the know. They're not coming out with anything. And the way it's come out has got fans fuming.
I mean, just reading that little bit on Lewis Hall, I actually wrote down some key points of what come into my head straight away after reading that in substance that I wanted to see. I wanted Laurie Whitwell to put in there, which I think all fans would have wanted to read and know as well. And I wrote down whether United have actually contacted Newcastle, whether Hall's representatives have been approached, whether a valuation has actually been discussed internally at Manchester United, and whether Hall actually wants to move, and whether they actually are alternative left-backs that Manchester United are also looking at as well. I mean, they're the sort of questions I think a lot of us would have want to have put to Laurie or seen the answers to in that deal sheet today. And I think that's why it's leaving some fans out there frustrated. I've got to be honest with you, I've come away from this deal sheet reading it. I'm not frustrated. I've just come away from it just thinking there's nothing in there of substance.
No, there's nothing in there. When you look at it, what Laurie's saying in there, what you would expect is for him to explain to us what United's strategy is going forward. And it doesn't tell it. It's all ifs, buts, maybes. No one knows what United's strategy is. You would expect these people, the way they go on and the way they portray themselves, they would be able to give us an idea of what the strategy is. Not the full strategy, but an idea of what the strategy is. And they can't tell us what the priority is. They can't even tell us what the thinking is in the club with the midfield role. And then you bring in the conversation about Mason Mount. They haven't got a clue. They don't understand what the strategy is for the budget. Now, you would have thought they would have a clear idea what the strategy is. I thought, now this is how I've always thought the budget was going to be, and many other people thought also 250 million to be spent. But we all believed that maybe 90 to 100 million pound was dependent on bringing, selling players and bringing that money in. They're not telling us. They're not telling us what they think the budget is. It seems to be, they seem to be praising the Glazers and Sir Jim Ratcliffe for only spending so much, and that's getting people wound up. This is what we've spent in the transfer window. We've got to be frugal with the money in that. That wasn't the way it was all being spoken 3 months ago about Manchester United. We was going in big, and now we're being told we're being frugal. But they can't tell us what they anticipate United have got or definitely got. They're just guessing.
I mean, I was just looking through the top bit of that article on the section of Manchester United, and it referred to Danny Welbeck and Ollie Watkins. I mean, not just this report this morning. I think it goes for a lot of reports over this summer. It's just beginning to look like it's a space for non-stories to do with Manchester United. Manchester United were never pursuing Danny Welbeck. They've not been pursuing Ollie Watkins this summer. Yeah, you can maybe go back to last summer with Ollie Watkins, where it might have felt there was a lot more strength to that sort of noise with Watkins coming to United. But this summer, I mean, Danny Welbeck and Watkins, I mean, devoting column inches again to non-stories, linking it to Manchester United.
Well, it's a non-story, and you can definitely tell it's a non-story because they knew it was a non-story and didn't mention it last week or the week before because they had other things to try and suggest and be vague. There's a new manager at Liverpool. So are they spending big? I don't think so at this moment. They're going through changes. So for me, I look at Manchester United squad. We finished third. We We've brought 2 players in. 1 or 2 players have gone. And if we bring in a couple of more players to strengthen that squad, it's not a bad squad. Now, is it the greatest squad? No, it's not. And we all know the reason why it's not. It's because we haven't got the players and we haven't got the money to go out there and spend, because that is the way the club is set up, not to like splash out.
I mean, for me, this summer it was all about bringing in players, so-called plugging in players who just slot in straight into the positions, whether that's midfield or at left back. And I'm looking at the current squad as it stands right now. I mean, this squad is good enough to still be in the top 4 come the end of Christmas, the start of January. My worry is when it goes in later in the season, that second half, when you're getting into February, March, if you're still in the Champions League, which we all expect to be, especially in them February fixtures, still be in the likes of the FA Cup, which I love, in March. You know, there's more and more games. They've had a World Cup, some of these players. You know, a lot of that will be still them feeling it in the legs. And we all know about the second half of the season.
Well, I look at it this way, and this isn't like...
Is the squad then strong enough?
My predictions, I'm just saying this squad, I would be happy, and I think it would be a strong squad. A left back, a midfielder, and a forward. I think that is the best we could have hoped for if them 3 players come in. And I think it would have been a fantastic summer transfer window to strengthen that squad. And we go again. We challenge for the Champions League. That's where I see it. And then it's the following summer, sort that defence out. That's how I see it. But hey, you know, these at the moment aren't spending. But I don't think it's over. And it's with what I see with my own eyes and what you hear and whatever. And you sort of look at you put your like common sense hat on and you look at that squad and you know it needs filling in. Well, they know that. They know that. It's the journalists what don't know anything.
Yeah, a lot of us still getting involved. I did have a comment up from Bale from our members club. He said it's the worst window in years from United, but fingers crossed.
Yeah, but you're that's very vague.
But fingers
there's no substance there. It's you like a journal. Andy Mitten's cousin or something on there. No, listen, you don't know where it's going to go. At the moment, it doesn't look great. And the reason why it doesn't look great, because we was all anticipating and we was all hopeful to have had all these players in already.
I'm not basing that, though, on what I was reading going into the window. I was just basing it on what I'm seeing with the squad, in my own opinion. Could be like way out on left field and wrong about it. But I was expecting at least 4 to 5 players where you look at them and think, yeah, no doubt about it. They start every single week in that Manchester United team. But I'm not getting that sense that I'm going to get